Hi, everybody. Just to get a quick pulse of the room, how many of you have developed a mobile game? And how many have you launched the game? Okay, awesome, great. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about what we call staying alive and kind of breaking out of the user decay pattern that a lot of the mobile games experience. We'll cover a little bit about what Fixu is about. Also going to touch on some of the Super Bowl advertising that was done. How many of you watched the Super Bowl? How many of you watched the World Cup? That's a better show of hands. Okay, I've got a World Cup example too. All right, so first off, Fixu is, just so you understand where we come from in this space, we are all about data-fueled mobile marketing. And if you take a look at the highest level of what the company does, is we're all about connecting brands with people. So it's targeting the right mobile ad to the right audience at scale, which is very important for all of us because we all want scale of our user acquisition programs. Targeting at the right moment on any mobile device worldwide. So we're really about connecting brands with people. And the idea is that it's done through our platform, which we call MIQ, which is made up of actionable data. Anybody can have data. The question is, how do you action on it, create audiences, target those audiences? We have actionable data. We have programmatic reach. So in that ecosystem, we have an incredible scale across the globe to be able to acquire users of quality for your app and to do retargeting and re-engagement, which we'll talk about today. And then we combine that all in a very highly optimized system. And optimization is very key. As an example, at Fixu, we have about 35% of our team, about 70 people dedicated to engineering and product. A lot of companies in the mobile marketing space don't do that. They're made up of media buyers, of traffic, et cetera. We spend a lot of time on our platform developing it. So if you kind of take a look at the numbers in our history, we have worked with over 250 game developer and publishers. We've captured over 8.2 trillion customer interactions, both in-app, on mobile web, as well as through mobile games. We've acquired 4 billion customers on behalf of the clients that we've worked with. And one of the best things about Fixu is we've been doing this so long. So as you all know, how many people have been in mobile more than 3 years? It's kind of like dog years. Yeah, so 7 years to every 1 year. So I think I've been in this space 21 years. But at the end of the day, we've captured over 2 billion device profiles. So that is about 65% of the world's overall devices. So our platform has actually seen customer interactions from those devices. And that's really essential to targeting users at scale and targeting the right audience. And through that audience, you can actually target on any daily basis through the Fixu platform over 55 billion ad impressions, video impressions, and native impressions. So this is some of the companies that we've worked with. So we kind of bucket them into brands, agencies, digital-first brands, and games. So we have worked with a lot of the quick-serve restaurant industry, a lot of the retail industry, so Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Best Buy, a lot of the agencies that are managing a lot of the brand budgets that you see today. And then the thing that I'm really proud of is a few years ago when I started at Fixu, we had a very small audience from a games perspective as far as client base goes, and today we have over 250 game companies working with us, including Disney, EA, Marvel. We've done campaigns for people like QuizUp and very successful games that are in the marketplace today. If we take a look at gaming in general, it's come a long way. Amazingly enough, I don't know if any of you know about this, but Madden 2015 is obviously filled with, that's the NFL football game, American football game. They've actually run simulations using all the data within their game and all the player stats and all the team league stats. They've predicted 8 out of the last 11 Super Bowls. And amazing enough, I'm from Boston, so had to get this in here. We did win the Super Bowl, which was awesome, but which was even more incredible, in my opinion, is that 3 days prior to the game, Madden released their prediction for who was to win the game. Not only did they predict the winner, but they got the score absolutely right. It was 28-24. So amazingly, they predicted not only the game winner, but the actual score. And what's really amazing is if you take a look at, a lot of the hype around the Super Bowl is the advertising. And this is the first year where we saw 3 mobile games advertised on the Super Bowl. Now, I'm going to put up some challenges here. I don't work for these companies, so I will challenge some of the thinking around doing this. But the 3 companies were Machine Zone, who ran Game of War. We actually work with them on mobile user acquisition. Heroes Charge, which is by Ucool. And then, of course, Clash of Clans, which is by Supercell. So out of the 3 ads, I chose the one without Kate Upton, but don't punish me for that. So I picked the one with Liam Neeson. So you can imagine, as an actor, he gets hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually appear in TV commercials, et cetera, and millions of dollars for movies. So here's the Supercell ad.
Buffet Boy 85. But if you think you can humiliate me and take my gold, think again. Oh, I'm coming for you with lots of barbarians and dragons. I can't wait to destroy your village while you beg for mercy. But you will get no mercy. I will have my revenge.
Lion? Have a scone for lion?
Over here. It's, Liam. You will regret the day you crossed Angry Neeson 52.
All right, Clash of Clans. Anybody take a guess at how much they paid to actually on media for that spot during the Super Bowl? They ran 2 ads. Any guesses? Just shout it out. How many millions of dollars? All right, great. Awesome guesses. I'm going with the 10. So actually, for every 30-second spot, each of these game companies paid $4.5 million. So that means Clash of Clans running 2 spots spent $10 million. They spent, well, $9 million, and then they spent about an additional $1.5 million on production of the ad as an estimate. Game of War by Machine Zone, very similar. Now the question comes, did they do this for user acquisition? Or, as an article that was just written yesterday said, did they do it to actually get people to spend more time in game and to spend more money in game? You can debate this all day long. This is just something that we're going to demonstrate here. So what does $4.5 million buy you? So in TV spend, it buys you a 30-second spot. It buys you a viewing audience of about 112 million people, of which, to be generous, as the article was written yesterday, let's say 25% of those people actually saw that ad. So that's about 28 million users. What did it buy you? Questionable brand engagement. If you spent that money on mobile and doing user acquisition through mobile, or actually just doing mobile video, et cetera, you could actually target, for the same amount of money, 125 million unique viewers. You could actually have 576 million total impressions running display, incentivized marketing, social marketing on Facebook and Twitter, and video. And based on the historical data that I mentioned that we have in our platform, which is 8 trillion events, we took a look at how many brand interactions somebody could get from that, and you're looking at about 27 million brand interactions. So if you kind of take a look at the user experience, when you compare TV, let's just take mobile video as an example. TV, let's say the 28 million people were actually viewing that ad, you'd spend $4.5 million on one ad, and you'd have a 16 cost per view. Now let's take the user experience. It's 8 steps to go get to that game and get it downloaded. You find your device, you grab a beer from the fridge, you go to the App Store icon, tap on that, then tap search, then scroll through the search results, which are bound to have competitive search results as well. Scroll through the search results, tap game search, hit the App Store landing page, then tap get. What happens with mobile video when you run it? You tap the video end card, which usually has some nice screenshots associated with it. You hit the App Store landing page, no competitors, it's your own page, and you tap get. 3 steps. So the idea of actual user acquisition is that it's a lot more efficient on mobile than it is in doing these large, really huge display ads. Now you can argue halo effect from the Super Bowl, et cetera, but at the end of the day, as we know, the App Store ranks on iOS is about volume and velocity. And if you take a look at Game of War by Machine Zone, their overall rank only climbed from 21 to 18. You would expect by showing an ad in front of millions of viewers that you would have a massive bump in the overall ratings or rankings as well as game. So this was Machine Zone. The two bars are the time of the game, actually the full day of the game. And you can see kind of how the user decay happens after it from a volume and velocity standpoint. Look at Game of War. It went from 43 to 39. Again, indicates the fact that there was not massive volume and velocity coming from installs from a TV ad. There were some, no doubt. Here's UCool. Now, they were not really ranked very highly. They just were barely in the top 1,000 with 736 overall rank. They climbed to 252. They actually took a 15-second spot. It was one of the only 15-second spots in the game. They spent $2 million on that spot. Do you know how much money you'd have to spend in incentivized marketing just to get that type of rank boost? About $2,000. So $2,000 versus $2 million. Now again, incentivized marketing has a certain value of user, but the idea is that you're boosting your rank to get to an organic state where people are finding your game. So again, nice boost, but to spend $2,000, you're talking about 5,000 or 6,000 users to get that boost in rank at that level. If you take a look at the World Cup, the point is really, if you're considering TV advertising as you're launching your games, kind of think twice about it, just because of the results that it can generate. Think of how much more you can get on mobile. Nike, as an example, during the World Cup, they had a Risk Everything campaign. It was 3 short films. They did everything digitally, and they had 4 million total views. The point being is that when you're doing things in a digital environment and spending on digital marketing, you're going to get a much more efficient spend. And so why am I telling you this? As I said, the article was just written yesterday. Well, maybe it wasn't about user acquisition. Maybe it was about getting the players to play again who had already played Clash of Clans or to spend money in game. There's a much more efficient way you can do that. With a show of hands, how many of you have ever done retargeting or re-engagement with your game? Spent UA money on that? No one. Okay, good. One person. We have a couple case studies in here, so be good for you to take a look at. So if you look at some Flurry data, the half-life in mobile, if you look at the games category, it has the shortest shelf life or half-life of any app category. You're looking at 2 months from a game's monthly user, declines by 50% from launch. Now, as I mentioned, Fixu has a lot of data. We took a look at 5 game companies. Each of these games had 20 million players each. So we're not taking these small developers. We're taking well-established games that had spent money on user acquisition. Day 1, 100% retention. End of month 1, 41% retention. End of month 6, 10% retention. End of month 12, 4% of the players that ever downloaded the game are actually still playing it. That's a look at 5 games over 3 years. And it happens to the best and most of them, right? So I'm going to just layer in other other lines. These are all the 5 games. They all follow almost an identical pattern. Now, retargeting and re-engagement is very new in the space, and a lot of it's been brought about through programmatic buying and using real-time bidding to be able to target those users. And the fact that you can marry or leverage the device profile to actually do that targeting, that's where you can become more efficient at maintaining your user base. If you look at the same 5 games and you look at their monthly active users, they all follow a very similar pattern. They have a nice bump in the beginning, and they all start to level off. So the question is, how do you get people to spend more money in your game, and how do you get them playing again and again? At the end of the day, we all know there's about 40 apps on any one person's device. What part of the screen is your game on? Is it the 5th screen that they have to swipe to? A lot of people forget about it. They get distracted by the App Store. There's over 2 million apps people have the opportunity to download. So the question is, how do you keep that engagement high? So what can you do? The idea is to maximize the value of your existing users. And you can do that through retargeting and re-engagement. You can use not only a mobile DSP, or programmatic buying platform. So at Fixu, we've built our own. So that, for those who may be kind of new to this, that ties into the supply-side exchanges like MoPub and Google's AdX and Smoto and NextAge, right? Those are the supply side. Our DSP actually can evaluate, bid upon, and place ads at 500,000 times a second. So it's machine to machine, it's optimizing around creative, it's optimizing around sites, and it's getting you the best traffic possible. And so with that speed, and the idea is you're looking for that user to retarget them or re-engage them with an ad for a game that they've already played. So speed is definitely important when you're looking at a DSP. You can also retarget them using display. Certain incentivized networks actually do retargeting, and social. You can actually use Facebook and Twitter, especially Facebook, for retargeting capabilities. And so what is retargeting? It's the ability to target a cohort of users who had previously downloaded the game or interacted with it. So you may decide to bundle them up in users that have never spent on an in-app purchase, users that have mildly spent, users that are your whales, the grinders, right? You can segment them all and target them with different creative. And there's something, any of you here, maybe the one person did retargeting, anybody has done deep linking in their game? Anybody know what that is? All right, we'll cover deep linking as well. The idea for retargeting is you can utilize mobile ad tech to re-engage lapsed players that are stuck in your user funnel. You can promote new features to re-attract players. You can encourage additional actions for players to spend more money in the game. And these are examples of retargeting ads. I just showed you Twitter, Facebook, display. You can target players of one game to play another game, so it helps with your cross-promotion. And then deep linking is all about building a better user experience. So deep linking is where you construct your app in a way that when you do decide to, let's say we have a new user base that you're trying to get to spend money. And let's say you create a cohort around a user that has never spent $1 in your game. You can actually show them an ad through retargeting using Facebook or DSP, target their device with an ad that says 50% off gems today. When somebody taps on that ad, the hope is that they still have the game on their device. If they have the game on their device, deep linking allows it to skip over everything, the start screen, your entire experience, and link you right to that special offer within the app. So the goal is to bring somebody right to the relevant content that you're promoting, the relevant in-app purchase sale that you're promoting. Listen, if you go shop in retail today, everyone is driven by sales. Everyone is driven by advertising to sales. 50% off works. All of these things work. The question is, how do you get somebody to interact with that ad and land in a deep point of the game? So it really drives better engagement. It drives more purchases. And the other thing on Android, if you guys have an Android game, deep linking also allows your app to be indexed by Google and displayed in Google search results. So it's actually a little trick for better UA, just new user acquisition on Google. So when somebody is searching Clash of Clans or clans, if you had certain deep links in your app that were related to those search terms, that would actually let that app be displayed higher in the search results that Google has. Little hint for people who aren't doing it. Right now, you're not alone. Only 25% of game companies actually use deep linking. So something to consider when you're building your next game. And the question, is, do I stop everything in user acquisition? No, you keep it going. And then you find companies with the ability to potentially automate this. So for example, at Fixu, we can do new user acquisition. And as we're doing new user acquisition in our analytics dashboard, because we have our own tracking and attribution SDK, Fixu also works with Tune and Adjust and others. So as long as we're getting that data, we can do our optimizations. But the idea is that retargeting should be run in tandem. And so you could set it up where when new user UA happens, when somebody hits a 7-day mark or a 10-day mark or a 30-day mark, and again, the better results come from retargeting and re-engagement earlier on in the process, you can actually have a system that automatically starts retargeting ads to set up to drive new sales, right? So you can drive when a certain cohort of users hits 7 days and they haven't spent in app, they can get one type of ad. When the heavy, spenders, the whales, are hitting 7 days, you can present them a different type of ad, right? It's a way to keep those players engaged and happy. Here's a couple quick case studies before we wrap up. So this was a Las Vegas-based multiplayer card game. They decided to spend some money testing retargeting and re-engagement. What you see here is we actually doubled their revenue using retargeting. So they had a 25% increase in budget yields. They had a 110% increase in in-app purchasers, and we did it at a 75% lower cost per purchaser. So whether it's us or another company you're looking at, retargeting and re-engagement absolutely works. Last case study. This was a top 50 grossing iOS puzzle game. They were looking for more sales and more in-app revenue. As you can see here, we were able to, and this was a pretty heavily saturated game, which is nice. We were able to drive 20% more purchasers at a 40% lower cost per purchaser. Because if you're working with the right platform that's doing the right optimization, they should be optimizing way beyond the download. You should be tracking events that are important to you. In this case, this game company was tracking all the proper events like in-app purchases, et cetera, which helps the platform, whether it's DSP, using RTV, or Facebook or Twitter, whatever it may be, we can actually do optimizations around the events that matter. In this case, it was an in-app purchase, and we did it at a 40% lower cost per purchaser. So there's a huge opportunity if you can seize it. You all know that in 2015, there's been projections saying that mobile games are going to surpass console games for the very first time. There's going to be supposedly, and I believe this to be true, $30 billion generated from mobile games. Retargeting and re-engagement can help you guys drive that overall number up and help you drive your overall revenue line up. So that's it. Thank you. You can contact me using those details either on Twitter or via email. Any questions related to this? Everyone's
Any
good?
question?
Everyone's going to do retargeting and re-engagement?
I have a question then.
Sure.
Okay, it's about retargeting. So, I think it's very exciting. How big does your cohort need to be to make it sense? I mean, if you have, I don't know, if you've been doing a little bit of user acquisition, you have, I don't know, let's say 20,000, 50,000 people that you want to retarget. Isn't that really, really small amount?
It really depends on the developer that's doing the retargeting
Sure.
engagement, especially in my opinion, when you can actually find a company that can automate that process, you could do it for 2 users, right? Like the idea is that
In theory, yes.
In theory, you could, right? But results will differ. And with retargeting and re-engagement, if somebody's deleted the app off the device, the nice part about retargeting and re-engagement is it will automatically redirect them to the App Store to go download the app again or the game again.
And then they go for the special offer.
Correct, exactly. And the cohort sizes range. I mean, we've done it as low as 20,000 users, but as high as in the low millions of users.
And is it more that special offers matter or new content?
I think it's both. Not everyone reacts to the push notifications. So people will leverage it to launch new levels of a game, like if there's 60 new levels, or you're giving somebody special access to skip over levels that were really hard for them to get past, so to get people unstuck from the user funnel. I also believe really to drive purchase events, it's very beneficial because everyone loves a sale. And if you can, double your revenue by reducing your in-app purchase by just a little bit, I think it's important.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Yes, now the questions come. Great. Adam.
You mentioned the deep linking will improve search results within Google, and I was wondering if you could give a little more clarity into how one might set that up. What's the process? How do you rank? You mentioned if your keyword is for this, but does that mean that your keywords need to match? And what's the process?
Sure. There's actually we have a small, not really technical, but there's a white paper on our site that actually talks about deep linking, and it references a couple companies out there that are not related to Fixu that actually can help with that. And there's also a link within that PDF, which I can send to you, which actually has a whole section on Google deep linking. To be fair, I'm not somebody that technically has developed apps. I have done user acquisition on the app side before joining Fixu for a big social app called Haywire. It was a free texting and international texting app, so acquired millions of users. So I'm very well experienced in mobile UA and retargeting re-engagement. But the idea really is from Google's perspective, is they believe that they want to tightly integrate Google Play into the whole Google experience. And the idea is that if you have your app as being searchable, it'll appear in those results. And there's some technical details that are linked from the PDF.
Yeah, just quickly, you mentioned Disney and Marvel, for example, that were using your platform. So within the kid space, you've got some specific challenges of what you can and cannot do from a compliance perspective. So how do you handle retargeting in that space?
Using, in regards to COPA, right, as far as that goes?
For example, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, generally the Disney and Marvel titles that, to be fair, that we've marketed are not targeted at children under 13, and COPA can be very complex. A lot of this has to do with behavioral targeting, and if you're knowingly targeting children under 13, and so a lot of the game companies today that we work with Tabtail and a few other Ninja Fish, very child-focused game companies. They usually have age gates in their app, and that's how they handle the ability to say, okay, well, anybody that's gone through that age gate could be a parent or whatever it may be. What we find, actually, a lot of the children game companies will do is when they're running retargeting and re-engagement campaigns, they'll target adults versus the children, so the people with money. So we've had some people that have said, I want to re-engage or retarget people, targeting iPads. And since our data set can actually tell, like, okay, this iPad has had multiple adult, like Expedia, Hotels.com, or whatever financial apps on it, you can actually do retargeting towards like an iPad that may have a children's game on it as well. So it could be a family iPad.
Yeah, so you're retargeting the parent to engage the child.
Retargeting the parent to hopefully get them to make in-app purchases for the child, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We've had that done before, and it's been pretty effective. But yeah, COPA is complex, so not a lawyer, and you should definitely look at how you handle COPA yourself as well.
I think
a lot of people use Facebook to age gate their app because you have to be 13 to be on Facebook, or so.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Glenn.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
If you have further questions, you can probably also meet Glenn outside. Thank you.